I said earlier, a lot of us already manage projects. A lot of us, either in our personal lives, in our careers, in our businesses, we manage projects. It's just that these things don't get to be called projects. Project. You think it has to be something that would have a particular IP address, p.r.o.j. Or maybe something that necessarily has to have a label that is called project. No, we all manage projects one way or the other in whatever we do. So the question is, why is it important for us to learn project management and not do it the normal way, conventional way? I call it common sense approach to project management. So what exactly, why do we need to do this thing? Because we've been managing projects. Yes, we are talking of project management. Why do we want to go and learn project management when we could use our common senses? Is there a gap? What is the gap? All right, because of time, let me just discuss this. We all manage projects one way or the other in what we do. I call this the wear belle face approach to managing projects. That is, you just want to rely on common sense. Common sense is good. Common sense is good. At least common sense is that thing that can get you out of danger, pending when the right tools and techniques come. Yes. But of course, keep seeking for the right tools and techniques so that you can keep refining the common sense. So common sense approach to project management is what a lot of us just do. We just do it. Okay. You don't need somebody to tell you that you don't want to overspend. You don't need somebody to tell you that you don't want to spend more than necessary, spend more time than necessary on whatever you are working on. You don't need somebody to tell you that you're supposed to conserve resources and not be wasteful in handling what you do. Of course, you don't need anybody to tell you all of this. So in whatever you are doing, one way or the other, you are, even if it's just by intention, you are probably already moving in this direction. But there is a catch. The catch to it is you have the option to keep trying to do things your own way, to keep trying to reinvent the wheel. You have the option to keep making the same mistakes people have made several years ago and they've corrected, they've written books on, conferences have been done, people have come together to agree on better ways of doing things. They've formed frameworks, they formed standards, principles around better ways to do things. Then you have established tools and techniques to be able to ensure you achieve success, to be able to ensure you have a higher chance of achieving success. That's a better way of saying it. So you have the option of leveraging established frameworks. Because like I keep telling people in my trainings, I tell them that the PMBOK guide, the PMI standard project management is not too far away from common sense. But I call it reinforced common sense. I call it common sense plus plus. Why do I call it? There's somebody disturbing us. Okay. Why do I call it common sense plus plus? It is because these things are they're not scripture. They're not cast on stone. Because if they are cast on stone, why would they need to be updating it? Why would they need to be changing it? Today is October 8th. We are less than October, November, December to January. We are less than 3 months away from a mega update in the PMP syllabus. So if you want to write PMP, write it very fast. If you're on the fence, leave the fence and write it very fast. Syllabus is changing by the end of this year, by January 2 of next year. So why do they need to keep changing these things? Simply because it's not really cast on stone. It's just me and you, professionals all around the world, coming together to say, this is what works in Brazil. Okay, you in Canada, how do you do your things? Okay, you in the Middle East, how do you do your stuffs? Okay, you Africans, how far? How does this work? And then you come together to now have a common ground, a base from which you can actually have a lot of fundamental, like a framework from which you can now adapt, like a framework from which you can now grow, like a framework from which you can, like a kickstart, like an head start for you to be able to say, okay, let's progress. So there's no point trying to reinvent the wheel when somebody has done something and you can leverage on. In fact, let me also say this, that one of those things that make a project manager stand out from a quack or any other person across the street is that a project manager understands very well the importance of managing knowledge. The project manager understands very well the importance of leveraging existing knowledge and documenting. I remember I think that was it last year or 2 years ago? I had an event in Facebook, that NG Orb in is it Yaba? Yes, in Yaba. And then I was discussing an important technique, something that we do in business. It's called systemization. It's called systemization. Systemization essentially is that, is it a process? It's not a process. It's like a system. It's like a way of doing things, a way of managing, a management style in which you want to take knowledge away from the heads, not away per se. You want to duplicate or document the knowledge that is in the heads of people. Put it, written down. That's called systemization. Such that 3 people doing the same thing will do it the same way. Of course, I'm not talking about the creative industry now. I'm talking about organizations that need some level of repetitive consistency in what they do. For example, you cannot imagine that Toyota, for example, will produce a car, a particular model of a car, and then out of, let's say they produce 1,000, and then you have each of them having different specifications. One of them having a 10 centimeter for something, another one having 10.2 for something, another one having 10.7 for something, another have 10 points. You get that kind of thing. So the way they fight things like this is by having standards, is by having their processes well documented. I'm not here to talk about systemization, but the point I'm trying to drive at is when you have your things well documented, well written out, you are on the path to a lot of, taming chaos. You're on the path to a lot of consistency that can bring a lot of success for you. I was talking about project management, and the point I'm driving at here is when you leverage on standards, on tools, techniques to be able to fast track your growth, to be able to increase probability of success, to be able to ensure you are standing on the shoulder of giants. If somebody has conducted the research, there is the data of the research. You don't need to go and start your research from scratch, except, of course, there is a need. Maybe you realize that there is a gap in the way that was done and you want to do your own again. Why don't you pick up from where that person has stopped, and then you want to extend, then you want to adapt? So that's the whole essence of project management. We all manage projects. How can we learn how the professionals are doing it? And then pick from them, pick lessons from them. And one thing I keep telling people is, if you think project management is only for the big boys, you are making a very big mistake. A very, very, very big mistake. Project management tools and techniques consist of tons and tons and tons of lessons for me and you and everybody to improve what we do. Whatever you do, I don't care. Whatever you do, I don't care. Whatever you do, project management has tons and tons of tools and techniques that will be able to make you better. You know the catch? There's something I tell people in my trainings. I tell them that if at the end of my training, if you're a male, you are married, your wife does not notice something has changed in you, then you probably should ask for a refund. Because it is impossible for you to internalize the principles of project management. And the way and your relationships don't change. The way you handle your relationships don't change. I tell my participants that if your boss in your office or your colleagues in your office, you don't need to tell them you are doing project management. The fact that you are doing it should already have a direct implication in beautifying what you do. If nobody has come to you to say, What has changed? The way you approach matters has changed. What changed? What's different about you? If nobody has said that, then it means there's a problem. You probably should ask for a refund. So it's just like you want to enter like a room that has different jewelries, different this and that, and you want to pick. There's so much to pick from. There's so much to pick from. And then you want to pick from all of these things to improve yourselves. Personal effectiveness, that's part of what you're supposed to pick out of the huge tools and techniques you have in project management. One of those things I tell people a lot is, we all want to be organized. There's so much of chaos in the world today. If you have the skill of being able to organize things, you will stand out. Let me take that again. There's so much of chaos today. If you have the skill, look at the list we saw earlier. People management was one of them. There's hardly any listing. The listing I showed us before was the listing from, what was that? World, who can remind me? Okay, World what? World Economic Forum, yes. So this is a listing from World Economic Forum. If you Google this, there are many other people who have lists of what they think are the skills you need to be able to be a better person in the coming future. But check all of them. People management is always one of the top that you need to have. And this is one of those things that you necessarily have to develop as part of being a project manager. So you want to be more organized, you want to be more structured in your thoughts and your actions. You want to be professionally mature in the way you manage endeavors, manage your projects, your activities. And whatever you do,